Hi there, welcome to another week. Thanks to all of you who've been sharing my videos and posts and have been reaching out with comments and, adding your own part to it because obviously I'm sharing my lived experience, but it's also important that you share yours. And so I'm glad to see that we've got that communication going. So, new month, new week, we're going to be talking about careers. And when I was thinking about, okay, what about careers? What can we talk about? I was thinking about the type of client who comes to me for coaching. They for different parts of careers. So the first one is, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to become. I don't know what my future is. I don't know what, what I would want to do. The second one is when you feel like you've made the wrong choice. So you've chosen a career, you're in a job, people arrive. I hate being okay, fill in the blank. I don't like being, I hate this industry. I don't like it. It was wrong. I should never have been. Okay. And also with that also goes, I hate my job and I hate my manager. And then the third category is where you have people who saying, okay, what's out there? What's for the future? What's their next step? So career progression, where are we going? What's next? What are the options? And then with all that, sometimes career progression is changing. But yeah, we'll talk about that in week 3. And then I thought the last week we can talk about what kind of myths are out there about careers. What are the things that we've been told that actually aren't true or aren't true anymore? And certainly when we get to that video, I'm going to say, hey, what do you think? What kind of myths can you come up? But yes, so let's jump into that first kind of client that is maybe you, who arrives and says, okay, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. And so when I think back to myself and being at school, where we used to have guidance or something called that, and each year we would recreate the notes, you would take them out of the file and put them in the next file. But the options really were very limited. It was, what are you going to be when you're big? Well, I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a nurse. It's almost like that was it. Those were the options. And maybe in your circle, there were one or two more. But when I think about it, I left school, was going to go to medical school, didn't get into medical school, went off and did genetics. And that's something like we touched on in biology, but it certainly wasn't ever going to be a career for me. And then I was going to do genetic counseling, and that was also something never heard of. And the government at the time stopped training. So I thought, oh, can't work with my test tubes. And off I went to go find people. And so I went into medical sales. So when you think about medical sales, also was never anything in our guidance file of, one day I'm going to be a medical rep. No, never even heard of it. And then fast forward 22 years after that, I went off, left corporate and became a coach. And certainly that was also not in the guidance file. But this is a theme also that we're finding now that we are training children, we're teaching children to be professionals, to be in careers that don't even exist yet. And that's how quickly things have changed. But what you see is that it all worked out, okay? And although I've done different things, it's always been the same calling, the same purpose, the same kind of difference. The vehicle that I traveled in was just different. So what I always say to people is like, you could be anything, you could go to the moon, you could do this, you could do that. But like, how do we hone it down? And sometimes it's quite difficult for people who are very good at lots of things because then it's almost like there's more choice. And oh, but what happens if? What happens if? What I say to people is that you need to make a whole big long list. The first list needs to be everything that you're good at. And I don't mean work stuff. Okay, it can be work stuff, home stuff, hobbies. What are the things that you're good at? What are the things that people go, wow, that person needs to. They would be brilliant to be able to go and do what? So make that first list, everything that you're good at. Then the second list needs to be everything that you are passionate about. Everything that's like, oh, wow, I can't wait to. I just love doing. So that's on your second list. And then what you'll see is that at the intersection of those two lists, everything that you're good at and you're passionate about, those are clues as to what it is that you could do as a career. So I think back to when my daughter left school, um, and she was brilliant at accounting. Okay. And everyone said, oh, go be an accountant, be like your dad, be like whatever. And she said, no, but I don't enjoy it. She might have been brilliant at it, but she didn't enjoy it. And so she was very clear on that she didn't want to go and spend the next, good heavens, how many years of her career doing something that she wasn't passionate about. So, yeah, very important. And then also in that, not only do you have to know what you're good at and what you're passionate about, you also need to find something that the world needs. So it's all very well going, oh, I'm going to go but does the world need it? Is it something that we're looking for at the moment? Of course, I'm not saying that you should only go find something that the world's looking for if you're not good at it and you're not passionate about it. But don't go and be something, rather if you are very good at something and you want it to be, rather make it a hobby rather than saying, okay, now let's turn this into a career. And then the fourth aspect is that you need to have a career that people are willing to pay for. So often I've worked with entrepreneurs and they've come up with something or other, and you go like, no, and it's almost they want to become their own charity. And I said to them, you know what? When you're your own charity, somebody else has got to put bread on your table. And even charities have got to run to make a profit to be able to pay the expenses, to be able to pay the overheads. It can't just be like, oh, I'll just work, Everything you do has got to pay off those overheads. So those four aspects are very important. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? What does the world need? Taking into account that what the world needs today or in 2 years' time is not what the world needed 10 years ago. And then, of course, that fourth aspect of what will the world pay you for? And remember, paying is a lot about value. When we perceive the value of something, we're willing to pay for it. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some idea. Go and do the work, go sit down there, and draw up your lists. And not just lists of 5 or 10 or so, like 30 or 40 different kinds of aspects. And then break it down even further. Not like, oh, I like baking. Okay. Baking what? Baking bread, baking muffins, baking funny cakes, baking. So make sure that you have detail in it. Also, like, oh, I like children. Okay. What age of children? What are they doing? What are you doing with these children? Like, oh no, I like other people's children. Okay. Um, if you like other people's children, but you also like giving them back, then do you need a career with children where you get them for hours and hours of a day? So these are all different aspects. If any of this resonates with you, please remember to reach out for a free discovery call. Also, remember that you are loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And I'm Colleen Quist.